Hey everybody, it's GauntletX, and welcome back to some more Magic Arena, and today we'll be playing another premiere draft of Wilds of Eldraine. Without further ado, let's get into the draft with our excellent Pack 1 Pick 1 rare. We've opened up a Spellbook Vendor. This is a 2-mana 2/2 with Vigilance that can put a Sorcerer roll onto one of your creatures at the beginning of combat every single turn for 1 mana. Kind of like a slower version of one of those 2-mana 1/1s that puts a +1/+1 counter onto one of your creatures every turn, but that's still a really good card for limited, for draft and sealed, any format like that. And this one starts as a 2/2 Vigilance, which is super sweet, so I think Spellbook Vendor is just a pretty busted card and easily the pick here. Now, one thing to note with the new roll tokens, these little auras, is that each creature can only have one roll on it per player, so you can't put 2 sorcerer rolls onto one of your creatures, so you do want to get a wide board state to get the maximum value from the Spellbook Vendor, but it is still a fantastic card. Pack 1, Pick 2, we could take Cooped Up as a really easy follow-up, just a very solid removal spell in this format, because there's plenty of cards that care about enchantments and auras and stuff like that in general, and this gets around some of the downsides of enchantment-based removal, where you can exile the enchanted creature at some point for a few extra mana, so that your opponent can't guaranteed like sack it for extra value or return it back to their hand to get rid of the enchantment or anything like that. So do like the Cooped Up here. I think it's a solid follow-up. Definitely other directions to go if we don't want to just immediately stick to white, but that's probably the simplest thing to do, taking such a powerful white rare. Goblin Bombardment is probably the coolest direction to go outside of just taking Cooped Up, as with any little sacrificial fodder, like a bunch of rat tokens or something, you can get a lot of damage wherever you need it with Goblin Bombardment, so I think that card would be pretty fun to build around in a dedicated like rat sacrifice deck, but we're not really in that direction, starting with Spellbook Vendor, a very, very powerful white rare. For pick 3, there's an excellent black removal spell, instant speed, 4-mana removal that exiles as well. Often it's going to let us scry 2, because we just need to have an enchantment on board to do that. That could be having a Cooped Up on the board, or having just a roll from a Spellbook Vendor. Any of those aura tokens count, so I think Taken by Nightmares looks pretty good here. The white cards are all kind of okay, nothing fantastic, so I think I'm happy to take Taken by Nightmares. Pick 4 now, we have a lot of directions to go. I think Pie Wielder's the best white card, but it's not spectacular. It is not that hard to trigger Celebration if we're constantly getting Sorcerer rolls onto the board with something like Spellbook Vendor, so that's a good synergy right there. So we could just take that, but there's some really powerful off-color cards between Hatching Plans, great if you have ways to bargain it away, sacrifice that enchantment, get your 2-mana draw 3 going, and Cut-In, which is phenomenal in aggressive decks, the Young Hero role being super, super busted. I think I just want to take Cut-In here. I just really, really heavily prioritize this card now. It's been so monumentally impressive that I am going to speculate towards that. The other option out of last pack was Prophetic Prism. I'm a very big fan of that card as well. Plenty of multicolored cards in the set, as well as off-color adventures and stuff like that that you could splash in. We are going to head just right back towards black-white here with something like Voracious Vermin if we want to get a wide board state, or Feed the Cauldron for more removal. Like both of these cards a lot. I also think Monstrosity is pretty solid. 2-mana 3/1, get a food token out of it when it dies. So back onto the black-white plan. Yeah, 2 removal spells, 1 creature right now. The curve doesn't really matter, we're super early, so just take our favorite creature, probably over the Feed the Cauldron removal. I'll go for the Voracious Vermin. Do really like creatures that can go wide like this, and that'll also make it so we have plenty of cards to put Sorcerer rolls onto, even if one is just a little rat. Pick 6 now. The Rhyme for Reindeer is the only on-color card. Don't think it's great, but it would work well with a Spellbook Vendor on board, although I have been saying there's a lot of synergies with our Spellbook Vendor, but this card is so powerful we don't need to draft any synergies, and without a Spellbook Vendor, the Reindeer's not doing much, so I think I'm probably just speculating on the best off-color card like Curse of the Werefox for removal out of green if we end up in green-white or something. Yeah, not a super great pack here. I think Troyan's the best card, but can't really be on the full pivot to green-blue at this point, I think. Pack 1, pick 7. Light Blades is fine. Return Triumphant is fine, just because I love that young hero roll. Grim Search is fine. Archive Dragon is also fine. Just a big flyer at the top of the curve. I have liked Merry Bards. Again, that young hero, my favorite role for aggro decks. Guess I'll speculate towards that. Some combination of red, white, and black. I think white is the most likely. So red, white, or white, black here. Looking to be the thing. Now we have a rat out. Hamlet Glutton's the best card here by a lot, though. Hamlet Glutton is like green's best common, in my opinion. If you have the bargain fodder, which it isn't that hard to get in draft, you can just play this as a 5-mana 6/6 gain 3, which is such a good way to stabilize. I've flipped so many games around and stabilized with this card, it's not even funny. So I'm going to take the Hamlet Glutton, and I guess we're basically any color but blue at this point. I guess we'll see as things progress. Take a rat out now. And Gingerbrute could fit into any colors we're playing. I could also take the Goblin Bombardment. Flies all the way around. If we get enough little rats, that could be a fun build around. We end up in just like red-black again. I guess I'll take the Bombardment. I don't think I'm going to end up in red-black here, though, but I guess we'll see. Unassuming Sage is fine. It's flexible, 2-mana 2/2 or 4-mana 3/3 that scries when it attacks. Could also take the Grand Ballgast, because actually red-white Celebration would be a good aggro deck. Actually might take that. A little heavier towards red-white than anything else at this point. See what we open up in pack 2. Well, we're definitely white. That's our second fantastic white rare, the Werefox Bodyguard here. 3-mana 2/2 flash. When it enters the battlefield, exile up to one other non-fox creature until it leaves the battlefield. So it's going to be a temporary removal spell. It's removal until they kill your Elf Fox Knight, the Werefox Bodyguard. I did not know this is an Elf Fox. What does that even mean? Alright, well, we'll take the Werefox Bodyguard. That seems like a fantastic card that is worth pushing into maybe a less open color for. There's Song of Totentanz, huge finisher for a red-white go-wide deck. Great with Goblin Bombardment as well. Alright, red-white tokens just get a really wide board state, trigger Celebration all the time by having 2 non-land permanents hit the board often. Go wide, get aggressive, take a Song of Totentanz here. And we've got a plan. Now we have a Tattered Ratter, because I do have a lot of rats. I could take that, but I think I'm on the Pie Wielder this time over the Tattered Ratter. We'll go for that. Solid black, mainly just Candy Grapple here being excellent. If I wanted to be black-red rats, we could do that again, but Spellbook Vendor, Werefox Bodyguard, I think we're forcing some white into this deck. Pack 2, pick 4. Best card's Utopia Sprawl by a lot, and then it's Genealogist. There's not a whole lot else in here for any other colors, really. I guess Catapult for blue-red. Crescendo might be okay in this deck. We get enough token-producing cards, but Archon's Glory could also be a pretty nice combat trick if you can bargain easily. Flying and Lifelink. Those are really, really big additions to the 1-mana +2/+2 tricks, so try out the Glory. Hopeful Vigil, perfect stuff here. Love this card a lot. Not super high on removal, so Torch the Tower is certainly an option as well, but we do have one cut-in and one cooped up at least, and I think Hopeful Vigil is just so good at triggering a lot of the mechanics in the format. Celebration, which wants 2 non-land permanents to hit the board, is going to be immediately triggered by this one spell, and Bargain is going to have 2 different pieces of sacrificial fodder now. You can sacrifice the enchantment, or you can sacrifice the token to your bargain cards, so I really like Hopeful Vigil, and I'll take it over Torch the Tower there. Definitely getting some value from going wide, so I like the Edgewall pack here. Again, it single-handedly triggers Celebration. Really into that. Pack 2, pick 7. Probably taking a filler 3-drop here, as there are 3 different filler 3-drops. We've got some young hero role production. We also have the spellbook vendor for sorcerer roles. Might get some enchantments. Getting into the graveyard for the Savior of the Sleeping, I guess. Redcap Thief does trigger a celebration by itself, though, so maybe that's interesting. I don't know. All three of these are kind of mediocre filler in their own right, but they all have like a specific situation where they might be great. We'll try out the Savior for now, I guess. Take something for the top end here. We don't have any 5 drops yet, so 5 mana 4/4 haste, get in, get damage in, maybe even beat a path at some point for extra damage seems fine. Protective Parents is theoretically okay, get a 3/2 any young hero roll, but hard to get that to die at like the perfect time for the ability for you. Take a Harried Spear Guard here for aggro. We're not going to have enough life gain for the Griffinary, so another Savior of the Sleeping it is. Just fill out the deck. Grabby Giant or Flick a Coin. Might be low enough on removal to try out the Flick a Coin here. Yeah. Try to keep our 4 drops as celebration enablers like Merry Bards and Edgewall Pack. We can try out Flick a Coin in this deck. Can stack this up alongside whatever damage our creature dealt to trade up into a bigger card and then draw a card. Or if our opponent is playing like 2 mana 3/1s, then we're really happy with this. Blowing up their 3/1 and drawing a card, getting a treasure. Alright, pack 3, what do we got? Ratcatcher Trainee, pretty easily the pick. Great way to get a wide board state off of just 1 card. This 1 card is going to give us 3 creatures total, even if 2 of them can't block. Triggers Celebration at instant speed, with Pest Problem as well. I think Ratcatcher is a premium common for a lot of the red decks, but especially red-black and red-white. Pack 3, pick 2. I feel like we're doing pretty well on celebration stuff to try to just have this Pie Wielder be a consistent 3 mana 2/3 double striker, so I kind of want to roll with that. With enough roll production, a Tale for the Ages gets okay. But if this is ever doing literally nothing, it's horrifically bad. If it's only giving 1 creature +2/2, still not a good deal. You need to consistently have 2 or more creatures that are enchanted on board for it to be good. I just feel like that's almost never going to happen. So, not that interested in that. Another Torch the Tower, but I am Cuttin's #1 biggest fan, and I'm going to take Cuttin over Torch the Tower even. Pack 3, pick 4. I guess we're taking the filler creature here. Don't think we'll have room for random filler equipment. Karmic Justice does not do anything. Could try to splash in Charade off of Scarecrow Guide and a treasure from Flick a Coin, but that'd be a pretty difficult splash for an aggressive deck. But Charade's a very strong card, so definitely was worth a consideration there. Oh, all the good stuff in 1 pack. There's a Glass Casket for an efficient way to get rid of any small creatures. There's a Harried Spear Guard for great little aggro stuff, and there's Edgewall Pact to trigger Celebration and get a Menace Dork on board. Love all this stuff. Double cut in, 1 cooped up. I think I'm going to take the Glass Casket, but I wish I could take multiple of those cards. Another Charade here. Sad. Dawn of Hope, definitely not for this kind of deck. Really slow mana sink. Can be good over time. Like the Celebrant a lot with cards like Hopeful Vigil, and I'm sure we have some other synergies here or there that might work out. I guess we could like pick up a Ratcatcher, redo its adventure or something like that. Another Ratcatcher Trainee, well that's definitely the pick. Very happy to see that. There's Charades everywhere. There's like 3 Charade in this 1 pack. Crazy. Well, I think I'm on Ginger Brute though. I just don't think that we are in a great position to be splashing in cards, even if they're as powerful as Charade. With just a Scarecrow Guide that I think I should be cutting. Not really going to use Plunge into Winter, also not going to use Redcap Thief most likely. We cut these Saviors too. Looks pretty solid. Just red-white straight up aggro here. Probably drop Goblin Bombardment at this point. I would want almost every creature in my deck to produce 2 bodies to really run Goblin Bombardment. We're not quite there. Would have been a sick blue-white draft pod. Could play a Slumbering Keep Guard. I prefer the little Hasty Dorks, though, but we've got enough random auras that this might get buffed up. Last pick Charade. Sadness on the stack. Alright, drop the Charade. So 46 cards here. We get to cut 6. Could almost definitely cut a land in this deck. We have 3 4-mana cards and 1 5, and that stops the curve there. Do have an X mana spell to keep in mind. Merry Bards is another 4-mana card, though. I think we're just cutting some of the most mediocre 2-3 mana creatures mostly, and probably Goblin Bombardment as well. So, Scarecrow Guide, Goblin Bombardment, a couple of the specific Aura Synergy cards. That puts us to 41 cards, and I could just cut a land, call it a deck. Although I also have a Red Cap Thief I kind of want to drop. I don't love Protective Parents. I think I'm fine with pretty much all the other creatures. 16 creatures here. Probably just keep these dorks. Yeah, keep these dorks, cut a land. Seems like a fine spot to be. With a curve like this, average mana cost 2.5, 12 red cards, 11 white, pretty even split. We just go 8-8 here. Do have the double white bodyguard, so I could go 9-7 in white's favor. They also have 1 more red card than white cards. I feel like 50-50 split is fine, because even if I don't bodyguard till turn 5, that's okay. Because Bodyguard's just really good at clearing any creature off the board, so we might not even want to play it till later anyway, so that we're clearing out their biggest, best threat later in the game. So if I get stuck off the second white for a little bit, that's fine, and that's the only double white card in the deck. No double red anywhere. I'm pretty chill with the 50-50, and calling it a deck here. Alright, here's a look at our final deck list for today. We are in a red-white aggro deck. The general archetype for red-white in this format is supposed to be based around Celebration, but we don't have like a ton of Celebration cards here, just a bunch of good red and white aggro stuff in general. The ones that we do have, though, the Gallant Pie Wielders, we really want to trigger. We really want to have 2 permanents enter the battlefield for these, so that they play as a 3-mana 2-3 double strike instead of a 3-mana 2-3 first strike. So we do have a lot of ways to enable those few Celebration cards that we have. We have stuff like Merry Bards that puts a 3-2 and a roll onto the board. The Edgewall pack puts a 3-3 and a rat on the board. The double Rat Catcher trainees can use Pest Problem at instant speed to get 2 permanents on the board. The Spellbook Vendor can get a Sorcerer roll onto the board every turn, so as long as we play 1 permanent, we'll be triggering Celebration alongside the Gallant Pie Wielders. So lots of ways to get these things consistently attacking as double strikers, which should be pretty great. Other than that, just a great aggressive curve of creatures alongside them. We've got the very, very powerful Spellbook Vendor that even without any Celebration synergies or anything like that, is going to keep buffing up our board and making our creatures even better at attacking. We have some excellent, excellent removal here, like a couple copies of Cut-In that can clear out our opponent's best blocker while putting a Young Hero roll onto one of our creatures, which is a super, super good roll for aggressive decks, because every time the creature attacks, it gets a +1/+1 counter until it has 4 toughness. Then it stops getting the counters on attacks. But that's a really good roll to put onto a Gingerbrute, because then you have a really hard to block creature that's going to buff up all the way to 4/4 stats eventually. Also an excellent roll to put on something like a Rat Catcher trainee, because that will buff it all the way up over time to being a 6/4, no, a 5/4 first strike. Bad at math, but I got there eventually. So we're really into the young hero rolls, so the double cut-in is going to be one of the best cards in the deck for sure. We've also got the Merry Bards giving us that roll, and I think that's it for young hero rolls. I guess Protective Parents can do so as well, but they're much less consistent. We've got more removal outside of the cut-ins, like Flick a Coin, that's a bit narrow, but then Glass Casket and Cooped Up that can get rid of a good amount of stuff. And that's about it. One more bomb to randomly win the game with just making a bunch of rats and just attacking with everybody 2 turns in a row. So more than one bomb rare in this deck, which is pretty sweet. And yeah, just looks like some great aggro stuff. So without further ado, let's head into the gameplay and see how it does. Here we are for game 1, where we are going to have to take the mulligan. And then this hand looks pretty reasonable. Probably want to get rid of the 5 mana card here. Right, find a turn 1 Gingerbrute so we can just get attacking. Playing against mono white so far. Need another white source to get this bodyguard down. I want to apply extra pressure by just playing the first striker right now. If I don't play it now, it is going to be quite some time, because next turn I make the rats, turn after that I play the first striker. I like doing this while they're potentially stuck on mana here and getting extra damage in. The part that I don't like about doing this is that we have mulliganed down a card, so not getting every last bit of value milked out of these cards could get us losing the card advantage war in the long game. But it might be worth the tempo to just be getting damage in while they're setting up. Alright, turn 3, they're just going to kill the Gingerbrute, and we do find the white source. Again, for tempo reasons, I probably want to just drop the bodyguard down during their end step and exile whatever creature they play this turn. I still have a Cooped Up for their next threat, and this makes sure we can keep getting damage in. Well, now I'm exiling a 1/1 with this thing, which is not that exciting, but it makes it a guaranteed 2-for-1 at least. Even if they kill the bodyguard later, they don't get the 1/1 back. Oh, that works perfectly. Because now I just curve out. What a draw here. That makes that play look real good instead of mildly disappointing like it was. There's a Cooped Up for the trainee. We still hit them for 5 with our other cards. We've got our own Cooped Up for whenever they actually play a blocker. And since they had to just use a Cooped Up on the Ratcatcher trainee, that means they don't get anything else from their saga. They just got 1 food token and 1/1/1 that got exiled. Here's another Cooped Up. Okay. We have to hit them 3 more times with the Werefox bodyguard. That's an excellent draw. If they eat their food, we will have to hit them quite a bit more. But we just added 4 more power to this board off of our 1 top deck, the Ratcatcher trainee, so that worked out really well for us. Our opponent has found their 4th land. Tough Cookie is a very good play here. It's going to be a blocker, and it is going to give them a food to gain more life. Cut in, another great draw. We can cut in, get the young hero roll onto the Ratcatcher trainee. Hitting for lethal on board. Yeah, and they don't have the cheap interaction, so they could eat 1 food and go to 7 life, but we attack for 7 damage because of that young hero roll. I think I actually should have put it onto a rat token, just in case they did have some kind of instant speed interaction, but in green-white, I don't know what kind of instant speed interaction they could have for only 2 mana to kill one of our creatures. They could have had the tap a creature, scry 1, draw a card, I guess, which putting the roll onto a rat would have played better against. So yeah, I think I should have still spread out the threats there and made a rat get bigger instead of the rat catcher. So Still works out for us. They did not have any interaction there, and we just do the aggro deck thing. When your opponent stumbles on mana a little bit, you can kind of just get some free victories like that. So we are 1-0 heading into game 2. Here we are for game 2. We've got that Spellbook Vendor on turn 2. That'll be excellent. Our opponent is on the play, unfortunately for us. Don't get to be the super aggro player. Tempoing in underneath all their plays and all that. It is going to be a mirror match here. Red-white versus red-white. Well, we drop our Spellbook Vendor. I would really rather not have to play the bards without getting a roll from it. But since the vendor's around to put a roll on everything, it might be okay. Song of Totentans. That could be our finisher later. Do I want to just play a Merry Bards, have a 3-2 on blocks, or do I want to put a roll on the vendor, attack for 3 and scry 1? I think I just play the Merry Bards and pass. So I want to be able to trade into one of their attackers, because we're on the back foot naturally from being on the draw in an aggressive mirror match. That kind of makes it really simple to figure out who's the beatdown, who's the aggro player, who's the defensive one. Well, who was on the play if it's an aggressive mirror, and our opponent was on the play, so we are the one that needs to be probably defending to the best of our ability. So we do trade off on blocks with the higher power creature, I think. But keep the vendor. There's a Twin Veil Guide. That's not something I really want to see. I think I need to kill the flyer. I could play the Pie Wielder. I think it's worth just immediately killing this before it potentially gets any lifelinking attacks in, though, because that'd be a huge swing. And if they don't have removal, this means we have a 3-3 blocker up for their 2-3. So they can't attack in next turn. If they do have removal, it's a little sad, because obviously we like the Spellbook Vendor. Definitely not blocking. But I have enough to do with all my mana that I'm not having the 1 extra for the sorcerer rolls every turn anyway. Bodyguard's a phenomenal draw. So what can I do here? Vendor attacks is a 4-4 with the young hero roll. 3 mana to hold up the Werefox Bodyguard. Am I just gonna flash that in? Honestly, not really on this board state against a 2-3 and a 2-2. I think I'd rather just play the Pie Wielder and make it a 3-4 first strike. It should be really hard for them to attack into that. And we'll let them use their trick on blocks here. There's probably something that's oh, it's 3 to an attacker or blocker. Okay. Expecting that it was going to be like a +2/+1 combat trick off that adventure card or something like that, where we could beat a Tattered Ratter but not a Red Cap Thief. +2/+1 or +2/+2, either of those. If it was a combat trick, we would have lost the vendor to the Red Cap Thief, but we would at least trade into the Tattered Ratter, even if they used the trick. Alright, so now we're just going to keep doing gross things with a Double Striker every turn. So let's get Celebration triggered. Attack with the Double Striker. I only hold a 2-1 up, but I'm at 13, so I think that's fine. The 2-1 blocks the 2-2. And we take 2 damage on board. Another land for our opponent. They're flooding a little bit here. I mean, they only have 1 more land than us, but we've got higher mana value spells. More to do with our mana. 11 life. Only way to trigger Celebration is to just go for it with the song, and I think that's fine. We probably just kill them in 2 attacks if I do. Yeah, let's just go ham. Alright, yeah, they just concede right there. We are 2-0 now, heading into game number 3. Here we are for game 3. We've got Gingerbrute, Ratcatcher Trainee, two creatures that are really good at wearing that young hero role. We are definitely high on mana here. We don't want to draw any more lands, but we'll see how we draw. Alright. First draw is another land, which could be awkward. We're on the play. We got to just push this aggressive tempo that we have going here. Questing Druid. How bad is this for me? Whenever they cast a white, blue, black, or red spell, put a counter on. Oh, it's Quirion Dryad. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, that's kind of just doesn't matter. We've drawn 2 lands in a row. Very bad draws to start it off, but that can turn around real quickly. We just hit 2 non-lands in a row, and all of a sudden, it's fine. Troyan Gutsy Explorer. That I will cut in. Ooh, that's a big non-land to hit. So we blow up the Mana Dork. The Druid is going to get big enough to be spooky, but slow enough that I think if I put the cut in onto the Trainee, it should be able to hit for more damage. They shouldn't be able to find a good block, because next turn it's attacking as 4 power. They need to make the Druid 5 toughness, which should be difficult. And the Gingerbrute I can just always send in, even if it's smaller. It can get past the Druid no matter what. So this overall is going to find me more damage over time than just getting an unblockable Gingerbrute in. Well, there's 5, never mind. I was going to say there's 5 toughness. If they just hold both those back, they can double block. And then I first strike away 1 and the other hits for 3. Actually, no, because this would deal... I would first strike away the Druid and then 2 damage to the 3 toughness card. I'd be fine. Okay. Never mind. I'm wrong. I think we play our Protective Parents here. And then we play the song next turn if I don't draw anything else. Hitting for 5. Yeah, should be a great turn to play song next turn. They're down to 7 now. If the Protective Parents die, then we can make a young Gingerbrute. The hero of the ages. We do have to worry a little bit about them outracing us if we don't find the kill next turn. Is that on the roll? Yes. Okay. I couldn't tell. The arrow was kind of floating in the void there. Floating in the VOD. Alright, well, that works. Then I don't have to think anymore. We are now 3-0 heading into game 4. Well, I like this opening hand. Our opponent is on the play here, starting with a Crystal Grotto. Well, we know they're not playing anything except maybe a Gingerbrute. Nope, no Gingerbrute. We are very high on mana in this hand again, but that's probably okay with the big X mana finisher. But we do want to draw some kind of non-creature spells at some point. Oh no! I've been spreaded. My seas! Alright, we have hit a non-creature spell, which is fantastic, because we do want to like curve out and still be playing something as we move our way up the curve to our Song of Totentones. Woodland Acolyte 2/2. Blocker. Now I have to choose between hitting them right now by putting a roll onto the vendor and getting a scry, or just putting a 3/2 on the board. I think I am supposed to just put a 3/2 on the board here and not hit them right now. Get a wide board state first. And then Protective Parents for Woodland Acolyte would be a fine trade, so if they don't manage to get another creature down, we put the Sorcerer Roll on the vendor and attack with everybody but Spearguard. If drawn to a 3-drop, that'd be beautiful. Ooh, Snaremaster Sprite, now they can just lock down. the vendor or the parents. They're going to lock down the parents. They're going to send in the acolyte. Okay, well then our attacks are going to be super free. That's cool with me. Yeah, because now I don't even have to spend the mana on a roll right now. Which I think it's fine to just trade Spear Guard off. Into the Sprite. They could have the 1 mana +2/+2 trick. That'd be a minor bummer. No blocks. Because we did have a bunch of mana open, so they have to consider we could have any tricks at our disposal there. Cool stuff. Cool stuff. There's one board wipe in the set in white. It is a rare. That would get us pretty bad. I mean, they'd have to tap out for it, and then I could just make 5 rats. 4 rats. Well, 1 from Spear Guard, so yeah, 5 rats total. That's 3 hits from dead if they don't play follow-up creatures, but they definitely would. We don't insta-lose to the board wipe, but it wouldn't be good. Okay. That's a beautiful draw. Beautiful, beautiful draw. So, the Dutiful Griffin on their board, I need to attack with just 4 power creatures, and Merry Bards is going to make that very possible. Because now I can play Merry Bards. I can spend 1 to get the roll onto the Protective Parents. Then I can spend 1 to get a roll onto the Edgewall pack, and I'm attacking with 2 4-power creatures. No matter how they block, we kill a Dutiful Griffin. And still have a bunch of other stuff on board. A bunch more threats for the future. And if they don't block, we put them to just 7 life here. Which should be very dead to the song next turn. Kind of interesting to have the Protective Parents themselves be the young hero. Also, this is a tragic card, Flavorfully. When the Protective Parents die, then the kid becomes the young hero. You just have to have that tragic backstory. They're going to send in for 5 damage in the sky. There is 1 bog in the format. The uncommon. They could prevent all damage that would be dealt to them next turn. That would be an out. It's a 3 mana instant, so if they don't play another land, then we're probably good. Yep, that's not another land. I mean, they're already dead on board, right? Probably, but we might as well just be really certain we're winning the game here. Boop. We must play the song of my people. Alright, we are now 4-0, undefeated as we head into game number 5. Here we are now in game 5 against Nicobolas himself, the God Pharaoh? My lord and savior? Well, I mean, if there was a game to lose, it'd be this one. All hail the God Pharaoh. I am all about Nicobolas. My favorite character in Magic the Gathering lore, so we lose, we lose. It'd be fine. Oh no! Nicobolas is mana screwed! See, it happens to all of us. Nothing to be embarrassed about. Even God Pharaohs. Well, we're curving out and getting as much power on the board as possible to pressure our opponent while they're stuck on mana. Well, there they go. They hit the 3rd land, and it's the 2nd color. That's a huge draw for them. There's the Feed the Cauldron, which gives them a food token as well. That's massive. Runner, runner, 2 lands in a row here. Get a 2/4 reach. Just bodyguard that. Yeah. Save the cooped up. Might have been better to play Pie Wielder cooped up here. since it's possible that we trigger Celebration and Pie Wielder hits for 4 instead of 2, that cannot block, so we are really okay with that. And they're dead on board. Oh no, they have a food. Not quite. Very close to dead. They're down to 2 life. They're green-black. I don't know yet, but I don't think there's a board wipe in green or black. I could be wrong. Alright, yeah. Noko Bolas himself has to concede. Unfortunate. We ran into my favorite character in the game, and he just got mana screwed. Well, all in all, I guess it's good for us in the grand scheme of things, because now we are 5-0, and no matter what happens from this point on, we are in the money, leaving with more gems than we paid to enter the event, keeping everything we drafted, and getting 4 additional packs. Incredible spot to be as we head into Game 6. Arena's getting real mad at my win streak right now. It's just gonna force us to play against a bunch of mythics now. I actually should have mulliganed this. I thought I had a red source. Brain farts, let's go. I do like the early Glass Casket. If I had a red source and I could go Spear Guard into Glass Casket, I think this was worth a keep, but we might just die because I did not see the lack of a mountain. That would be a pretty disappointing way to lose our first game, but it definitely happens. Well, we find the red source, so it's going to play out as if we had the red in the opener, except that they're at 20 instead of like 17 is what would have happened. So, I think we play the Ball Guest. We exile... We exile something here. I don't know if it matters which one. I guess we exile Obira. It's possible the Vermin doesn't want to attack into the Ball Guest. And then we can cut in on the Vermin. Alright, we definitely lost some momentum here, but hitting that red source means... Unless we lose the game with our opponent at like 3 or 4 life, then it probably didn't matter. Probably plays out fine. The Dream Spoilers, that can stack up with any instance into turning into like a bunch of extra removal spells. So I think I should just cut that in before I do anything else. We've got a heroic Grand Ball Guest now. Hit for 3, pass the turn. Next turn we can play the Edgewall pack and have our Archon's Glory up. Hitting for 3 here, because if they block I can just Glory. Candy Grapple, I can also just Glory that. Now they have to spend another removal spell if they want to kill it. Alright, it survives. We take 4. We're going to put it back in our hand. Alright. 4/3 Vermin. Would love to find more removal for that then. That's getting big. I play the Guest first. It gets +1/+1 until end of turn, but it doesn't get haste, so it doesn't matter. Oh, it actually still works if I play it second. Yeah, just as long as 2 or more permanents entered the battlefield this turn, so it's not like a triggered ability or anything. Alright, grapple the 3/3, that means we got no blocks here. We've got a Coralsmith too. This ain't great. This one -1 when it dies scry 2. Need 3 power to kill Vermin on blocks. I think I actually have to just be on blocks here. try to go instant speed celebration to trade the guest up into the vermin. Draw 3, that's gonna be the nail in the coffin, probably. Puts them very far ahead in card advantage, gives them multiple more plays to make for the next few turns. Send in the Coralsmith, they've got the mana to make it a 3-2. Could be a trade for the guest. Even if I buff it, and then the vermin gets bigger, and that's not good. Probably still supposed to do that. 10 life here. Yeah, I think I'm supposed to do this. They can still trade into the guest, but can't just take the 3. Basically have to top deck our song or something, and then just like attack with everybody twice in a row. As our best chance at maybe finding lethal. Something like that. So we're not going to be able to grind out a long game anymore with the draw 3 they just cast. At the card disadvantage here. Plus the scry. Alright, that ain't good. Sack 1 rat to deal 3 to them. Or the spear guard. Seems fine. Yep, sack 1 rat to lava spike them for 3. Chancellor of Tales. If they cast any adventures, they get to double them up. Ooh, and immediately an adventure. 2 wicked rolls now. They're going to town. Three, 4, 5, 6. I could have 7 mana if I play another mountain, then X equals 6 here. 6 1/1s, they have 1 blocker. Block there, take 1, 2, 3, plus 6, 9, not dead. I think I have to chump. Then if I draw the song, I can attack with all the rats and chump with Spear Guard, then attack with all the rats next turn, and that would be the win. But we just find another land. And it actually wouldn't even like be the guaranteed win, it would just be the win if they have like no removal, probably. Now I don't think there's anything we can do. We just chump a vermin, take 4. Die the turn after this. Don't even know if it's worth attacking now. Sack a rat to get 2 damage in and then don't have a spear guard up on blocks. Which means we die on board. Yeah, it's not. So I can't afford to attack with Spear Guard. I could just attack with the 2 rat tokens, sacrifice 1 to deal 1 damage to our opponent, which is definitely not the play. Flick a coin does not do anything at this point. I'm over here dying on the ground and I just flick a penny at their head. Just like, take that. That's 6 on board. Even if I coop up the vermin, that is dead. Alright, that's going to be our first loss there. Obviously, the keep was far from ideal. Should not have kept a monocolored hand. So we didn't get to have a lot of action in the early turns because of that. Perhaps there were some mulligans to 6 that could have found us the win there, but that was just like a brain fart kind of thing where I didn't notice that I didn't have a mountain, so is what it is. We are 5-1 heading into game number 7. Here we are for game 7. I do know that this is a monocolored hand, but Lord, do I wish it wasn't. If we had 1 red source, this hand would be pretty beautiful. No 2-drop, but starting with Spear Guard, knowing that we have a bodyguard coming up, as well as Merry Bards, Redcap Thief, all kinds of good stuff. Be great. We are on the draw with 8 mountains in the deck. There is some argument to taking the risk here, but I think it's better to mulligan. And this is worse. Well. Yeah. Mulliganing again and keeping this 5. Drop the 4-drop and a land. Yep, then everything's castable. Our opponent starts with a turn 1 Vampiric Rites. Probably start with a Ratcatcher trainee and the next turn play the vendor, put the roll onto it. That makes the vendor have less opportunities to die to removal before we get the value off of it. Pretty solid draws so far, hitting a land so that we can play vendor and get the roll, while also hitting a Merry Bards for turn 4. So I'm pretty happy with our draws so far. Overall, we are playing against green-black. Get to scry away the 5th land. And they've got 4 mana now. There's a Grave Pact. Whenever a creature you control dies, each other player sacks a creature. Okay. Very cool artwork. Very powerful card for Commander. If we can find more Ratcatcher trainees, that might not be the end of the world for us. But that's certainly not ideal right now. Especially with the Vampiric Rites on their board, they might just combo us out. If they have rat production, we will probably die. So now the Witchstalker is just a straight up trade wherever it happens. I think I need to draw just any creature at this point, so we keep the Grand Ballgust. Sack the Merry Bards. Keep the First Striker and the Vigilant card over the No Abilities card. There's the Hollow Scavenger. That can buff up to 4 toughness, right? And that 4 toughness means can beat the Ratcatcher trainee. Can't beat the vendor, but it can trade. If they get a legit trade, they trade off and I sack a card? That's pretty gross. Well, either way, I'm going to have to use Archon's Glory, so might as well send both in then. Pick up a Ginger Brute. Sure. 2/2 haste with Spellbook Vendor. Sack a food to make it a 5/4. Block Ratcatcher trainee. Should I bargain here? Probably not. I don't think I need life gain. I just need to keep as many creatures as possible throughout this game. I could sack one of these rolls. Oh, I guess I should have, since I have to sack the guest anyway. Never mind. Actually might sack the trainee over the guest, because the guest is going to be a 4/4 trampler often, because we just play one creature and play one roll, and it's a 4/4 trampler. The trainee is just going to be a 3/2 first strike, 4/4 trampler, 3/2 first strike. I'll sack the 3/2 first strike, I think. Play around the make me discard 1 card thing. Playing our land for later. Genealogist. Alright, I'm gonna have to keep sacking a dork every time. This Grave Pact. Making sure everything's a trade. Here's the celebration trigger. We're still in a solid spot, I think. Oh yeah, okay, we win. Song of Totentons. Just keep drawing great rares. That's how you win games of Magic. Spellbook Vendor into the song. Alright, so they can block Vampiric Rites on the Trump, so they get to draw a card here too, which is real good. At this point I think I sacked the Vendor so I can hit for the full 6. Since I'm just going to be playing a bunch of rats next turn and killing them anyway. Should just get all the damage we can. No more roll token shenanigans. Hopefully they don't play some kind of massive life gain, like the big 6/6 trample gain 3 or something like that. And removal spell. 2 more mana left. Fairy Dream Thief, that's not going to be enough. That is in fact exactly not enough. They had 1 more creature, they'd be alive. Not fine, but alive. Actually, no, that is exactly enough. Never mind, I'm 1 mana off from the kill here. We still do it, because it still kills them in 2 turns. Or if I make 3 of them and guarantee the Gingerbrute damage, does that do it? No, because I make the Gingerbrute unblockable. That hits for 2, but then the 3 rats hit for 2 as well. So they take 4 either way, so we'll do this. And then we lose 2 rats here. Oh, we lose Gingerbrute and a rat. Oh, that's true. They had to block Gingerbrute, so we couldn't have lost 2 rats there. All right, 1 life against 3 rats. Do they get there? Come on, rats. No. Oh my god, no. Oh. I mean, they're not dead. But that was a swell top deck in response to that. Puts them back to 1, so they can't exile the fairy from their grave to draw a card. Dream Spoilers. I don't think that's enough, because they take 2 from the other 2 rats. They block Vampiric Rites, gain 1. They're at 2 life, but they take 2. Sack the blocked rat. Deal 2. Alright. Well, that was swingy. That was swingy stuff. Grave Pact Vampiric Rites was looking real threatening, but we had a pretty quick curve. We drew into a lot of our best cards. So we do manage to break through that, and we are now 6-1. Heading into the final boss with 2 rounds in the chamber. Here we are on the play for the potential final boss. The hand is literally all removal. I don't... It really depends on the matchup. I feel like I probably shouldn't keep this. But great mana. Whatever, I'm gonna keep it. And hope we're on like a mirror match here. If I draw into like a 2 mana creature as my first draw, then the hand looks just great. So that is what we are crossing our fingers for. We want to see mountains here, ideally. Most aggressive color in the set. Most aggressive color in general. Swamp. Alright, Swamp Candy Trail. That does not look very aggressive. But one of Black's best 2-drops is Minstrosity, just 2 mana 3/1 kind of dork. Ooh, what a draw. Well, I've got a 2-drop creature now. Probably just dies to removal, but we'll see. They are black-white. They're just going to pass turn there. Alright, probably supposed to put the roll onto this so I can scry 1. I will attack into a potential Kellen's Light Blades, because black-white's going to have so many other removal spells they could use. It's not worth playing around the 1 that gets us there. Scry that to the bottom. Pass turn. Plus, by itself, Spellbook Vendor literally doesn't do anything but hit for 3. Well, this could be pretty bad for me. If they have the Stockpiling Celebrant, we're just going to lose handedly. They just pick up these cards and keep replaying them. Turn that 3-mana and 3/2 into a ridiculously good card. Discerning Financier does not really do anything, right? Yeah, it's just a 2/3. They can donate their treasure tokens to me to draw cards. If I play more lands than them, then they'll get treasures. Yeah, that's fine. I'm going to wait to cut until I have something on board, so I'm just going to make rats during their end step and then make one of my rats a young hero. I think that's probably the line. Alright, gain 3 life, draw a card is the play. Drop a Wicked Visitor for a 2/2. Chill with me. No attack. They must really like their Financier if they're playing around Light Blades for that. Cut in, get a rat hero. Trade the rat hero into their 2/2 is pretty chill with me. They do not want to take the trade. They play land number 5 with 3 more cards in hand. Drop a Woodland Acolyte, great card, 2/2 plus draw a card. Send in the Visitor for 2, we're down to 16. Drawn to a Gingerbrute, great. Great target for our next young hero. Let's... Could play Gingerbrute and then flick a coin on the Acolyte if it blocks. Feel like I'd rather just flick a coin on the Acolyte if it blocks a rat. I don't really want to spend a Gingerbrute to do that. But then we play Gingerbrute post-combat if we end up doing that for our 3 mana. Okay, yeah, that's chill. Worst case scenario here, our flick a coin trades for a combat trick. We lose a rat, but a rat is not that inherently valuable. It's not a bad deal. Can do grapple my rat, sure. We kill the Acolyte. Now, thanks to the treasure, I could spend the treasure and go 3 mana and get 2 more rats here rather than playing Gingerbrute right now, since Gingerbrute will get the haste anyway, or I could just play this rat catcher. I think either of those is chill. I guess I'll just play this rat catcher. I can save the treasure for later where we might like desperately need to do something for 1 more mana. Right now we're not under a lot of pressure. I can just play my 2 mana spell instead of 3 mana adventure and feel pretty okay with it. Barrow Naughty. Slightly large, slightly annoying. Try to go for Gingerbrute out racing here with the young hero roll. Alright, we're hitting for 4 a turn, they're hitting for 2 a turn. Well, I'm hitting for 4, then I'm hitting for 5, then I'm hitting for 6, so on. Definitely winning the race. Is it worth the greed? Holding off for the pest problem? Or do I just play the 2/1 immediately? I think I can wait. A little greedy, but I think I can. Take 1 extra damage, right? Yep, 1 extra damage here. For them to scry to. 1 at the top, 1 at the bottom. Maybe removal for Gingerbrute, maybe a big dork. We'll see. It's a big dork. It's a 2/2. 3/3. Okay. Not really the draws I'm looking for. I think the rat catcher's still fine here, though. Now I'm just taking hits from the bunny corn, and if they scry with the hopeful vigil, then it's just a 2/2 again until they play another card. I think I need to do the full adventure plus trainee here just to get rid of the summoning sickness for future attacks. Okay. Play a land past the turn. Ginger Brute, as a young hero, is just doing its thing right now. The Wombo combo. Can't catch that unblockable 4/4. Running as fast as you can. They're gonna have to scry now. Yep, they go for it. Might have been a solid turn to attack with the double trainee, actually. I think I actually should have. Because of the first strike, they could only block and kill one of them. They could block one with the bunny corn, and then by doing that, they couldn't afford to sack the vigil in the same turn. I definitely should have attacked with that, with the rat catchers. Now they get to scry 2, draw another card because I waited. Yeah, that was a really good turn to attack with 2/1 first strike creatures. Even if the bunny corn looks like a 3/3 on board, it turns into a 2/2 if they sack their card or if they lose their Wicked Visitor. So they block and kill one rat catcher, take 2 more damage, and then they have to wait to sack the vigil till their upkeep. I think that would have been perfectly reasonable. Which means that I think attacking with everyone here is pretty reasonable, unless their one card in hand is just excellent. Not excellent, but not bad. Alright, we're killing the bunny and the assassin. That's cool with me. Kill the bunny and the assassin, because the assassin's not going to be on board anymore. We deal 7. Yeah, this is still a winning position by a lot. And they still couldn't find removal for Gingerbread after all that scrying. I mean, I guess maybe that was what their final draw was, and it just isn't enough now, because even if they kill that Gingerbread, they block the keep card and take 3 and die still. Actually, I only have 1 enchantment on board, so if they kill Gingerbread, then keep card's just a 1/1. So if they had removal to kill Gingerbread, they could kill Gingerbread, chump block the trainee, and go to 1. And then I still have 3 creatures on board the next turn, so yeah. Maybe they did top deck removal in the final turn, but it's too late now. But either way, lots of scrying for them, and they just couldn't find the removal. Don't think I played that out perfectly. I think we could have attacked with those trainees a little more aggressively because of that fact that the bunnycorn would fall down in size if they ended up chumping with Wicked Visitor or sacking the Vigil in the same turn. So we could have pressured them a little bit harder, but certainly played out fine, and was really sweet to see the Gingerbread with the young hero roll just getting so much unblockable damage in. Such a great way to use that Gingerbread. That's going to do it for us. We are 7-1, and our only loss was pretty self-inflicted, where I just kept a mono-white hand because I didn't know that it was mono-white. So that was a big part of that. Our opponent had a really solid deck, solid draws and stuff too, though, so we don't know what would have happened if we did mulligan. But yeah, this was an incredible run. We're going to get our full 2,200 gems and 6 packs out of it. This deck was pretty nuts overall. Obviously, we had multiple really powerful bombs. We had the Song of Totentans as a huge finisher. the Spellbook Vendor finding so much extra damage throughout the game while giving us a bunch of scry, and the Werefox Bodyguard as a 2-for-1, a removal spell and a creature on curve. That played excellently in every game we drew that as well. So really loved all of our rares. I think all 3 of these are premium rares you should take super highly in draft, and if you have multiples of these, they are great reasons to be in these colors, as you can see. We also had some really good use of those young hero rolls that I love. Absolutely freaking love Cut In as a removal spell. So many of these games were at least partially decided upon by having a removal spell that was also consistently buffing stuff like our Ratcatcher trainees and just finding a bunch of extra damage. So cut-ins were incredible with the trainees, and the one time we got to put the young hero roll onto the Ginger Boot, that was also fantastic. So lots of great stuff going on with the deck. And it's going to find the 7-win run. Grab our 2,200 gems, our 6 packs, and that is going to end today's draft. Well, that is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for their support, as well as you for watching the video. If you're interested in seeing some more videos like this, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more in your recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below, and if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. But other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.